Have you ever noticed someone so afraid to ask for help that they'd rather crumble in silence, even when they're clearly overwhelmed? Have you wondered why some people drag themselves through burnout, anxiety, and stress yet won't utter the words, "I need help"? Today, we're diving into the psychology of people who struggle to ask for help. This is not motivational fluff. This is human behavior broken down through psychology, emotional intelligence, and real inner conflict. Let's begin. 1. Fear of being a burden. The first reason many people struggle to ask for help is simple, yet powerful. They're terrified of being a burden. You've probably met someone who says things like, "I'll manage. It's okay. I can do this myself. I don't want to bother you." On the surface, it sounds humble. But underneath, it's fear. Fear that asking for help equals being too much. Psychologists call this self-silencing, a pattern where people suppress their needs to maintain harmony or avoid inconvenience. This isn't just politeness. It's anxiety about worth. For many, needing help feels like asking permission to exist. They think, if I need help, I'm not capable. If I need help, I'm weak. If I need help, I might be rejected. And that fear holds them back. So instead of asking, they suffer silently. 2. They've learned to handle it alone. Some people didn't grow up with help. Not the support you get when you're stuck. Not the guidance you get when you're lost. Not the reassurance you get when you're scared. Instead, they learned you solve problems on your own, always. This comes from childhood environments where parents were distant, emotional support was rare, encouragement was conditional, or vulnerability was punished. When help wasn't reliable, the brain learned one rule: others can't be trusted with your struggles. Psychology calls this learned self-reliance, not the healthy kind, but the survival kind. And survival habits don't disappear easily. Even as adults, these individuals think, I don't need help, I can handle it. But beneath that belief, there's exhaustion, there's isolation, and often, there's a quiet longing for support they never learned how to ask for. 3. The illusion of control. Here's something surprising. For many people, asking for help feels like losing control. Control is a psychological anchor. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us safe. And for those who fear chaos, uncertainty, or vulnerability, control is a fortress. Asking for help threatens that fortress. Because when you ask for help, you make yourself visible. You open up. You invite someone into your inner world. And that feels dangerous. This is tied to a psychological concept called locus of control. How much you feel you influence what happens to you. People with a strong internal locus of control believe, I make things happen. I'm responsible for everything. So asking for help feels like giving up responsibility. Like admitting, I can't do this on my own. And to some, that feels unbearable. So instead, they stay silent, even when they're drowning. 4. Perfectionism. The silent trap. Perfectionism and asking for help don't mix well. Perfectionists often believe, if I ask for help, it means I failed. Their inner voice says things like, I should know this. I should handle this without assistance. If I ask, I'm incompetent. But here's the twist. Perfectionism isn't about excellence. It's about fear of judgment. Perfectionists aren't afraid of challenges. They're afraid of being seen as imperfect. And so they hide their struggles. They overwork. They grind in silence. Because asking for help would expose a flaw, and flaws are unacceptable in the perfectionist mind. Psychologists link perfectionism with self-criticism and anxiety. And when the inner critic becomes louder than your desire to connect, asking for help becomes one of the hardest things in the world. 5. Shame, the invisible barrier. Shame is powerful. It's the emotion that tells us, something is wrong with me. People who struggle to ask for help often carry shame, even if they don't say it out loud. They think, if I admit I need help, then everyone will see that I'm not enough. Shame doesn't want to be exposed. It wants to hide. So it pushes people into silence. Even when they're in pain, even when they're stuck, even when they really need someone. Shame whispers, you should handle this alone. You must be strong. They'll think less of you. And that voice can feel louder than logic. Because shame isn't rational. It's emotional and deeply rooted in self-worth. 6. The social comparison trap. We live in a world where people post their best moments and hide their struggles. This creates a silent pressure, a social mirror that reflects perfection. When people compare themselves to that mirror, they think, everyone has it together except me. When you believe everyone else is coping, asking for help feels like admitting, I'm failing. Psychologists call this upward social comparison, comparing ourselves to people we think are better off. And it's toxic to vulnerability because it makes struggles feel shameful and neediness feel like weakness. So instead of reaching out, people withdraw, they hide, they pretend, and they suffer in silence. 7. Past rejection or betrayal. This one hits deep. Some people don't ask for help because they did ask before and were rejected, or dismissed, or ignored, or mocked. Humans are wired for connection. So when someone reaches out and is met with coldness, the brain stores that as a survival lesson. Like, don't trust people with your weakness. So the next time they struggle, their nervous system screams, don't ask, protect yourself. This is not stubbornness. This is self-protection. It's the brain trying to prevent emotional pain. But the cost is real. They end up alone with their problems, still hurting, but unwilling to risk another rejection. 8. Identity. I handle my problems. Some people don't ask for help simply because they see themselves as self-sufficient, not just capable, but defined by it. They think, I am the person who deals with my problems. I'm the one who finds solutions. This becomes part of their identity, their self-image. And identity is incredibly hard to change, even when help could make things easier, faster, healthier, because asking for help would challenge their self-concept. It would mean admitting, I'm not all-powerful. And for someone whose identity is wrapped in self-reliance, that admission feels impossible. And so they don't ask. They just cope, even when they're overwhelmed. 9. Lack of emotional awareness. Here's something less talked about. Some people don't ask for help because they don't realize they need it. Not consciously, not emotionally, not deeply. They're so used to masking discomfort, they mistake stress for normalcy. They convince themselves, I'm fine, it's not that bad. I just need to push through. This is tied to emotional awareness, the ability to identify, understand, and express internal states. When emotional awareness is low, people can't name what they're feeling, so they can't ask for what they need. They might need support, but all they feel is discomfort. And discomfort doesn't translate into a clear request for help. So they stay silent, not because they don't want support, but because they can't articulate it. 10. Misunderstanding what help really is. Finally, some people do want help, but they think help means something overwhelming, something huge, something dramatic. They picture help as someone taking over their life, someone fixing everything instantly, someone solving all problems forever. That's not what help usually is. Help is a conversation, a guided step, a shared burden, a small moment of connection. But when someone expects help to be big, they never ask for small. And that's why people who desperately need help sometimes ask for nothing at all. The takeaway. So let's wrap this up in a way that actually lands. People who struggle to ask for help aren't weak, lazy, arrogant, ungrateful. They're human. They're afraid of being a burden. They've learned to handle everything alone. They fear judgment. They think imperfection is failure. They've been hurt before. They compare themselves to impossible standards. And they lack words for what they truly feel. Asking for help, real help, means exposing vulnerability. And vulnerability is risky. But here's the psychological truth. Connection heals, not perfection, not silent suffering, not self-reliance taken to the extreme. Connection, support, asking, being heard, being understood. That's what actually moves people forward. If you watch this and thought, that's me, or that's someone I know, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're human. And the courage to ask for help starts with awareness, understanding why it feels so hard in the first place. If this video gave you insight, if it made you feel seen, then take a moment and share it with someone who might need it too. And if you want more psychology-backed explanations of human behavior, go ahead, subscribe, and join this community, because understanding ourselves is one of the bravest kinds of help we can ever ask for.